Welcome back. Looks like you've made it to episode 2 of what I'm calling What's Going On in the Art Studio. Kind of a studio check-in. See what's happened in the past week and what's coming up for this week. Alright, so this past week was kind of crazy, and it was crazy for two reasons, and it's two things that I want to talk about today. I had a really big car show, and I made a scheduling mistake. As an artist, professional artist, working, for yourself, scheduling seems to be one of the hardest things for me. And the car show that I had this past weekend is kind of part of what messed me up scheduling wise. I start my weeks on Tuesday, and I work Tuesday through Saturday. I left Thursday morning for this car show and drove, 4-hour drive to get there. Spent that morning, loading the truck, all that kind of stuff. So that was one full day of the week. Then, set up. It was Classic Truck Throwdown was the name of the car show. Huge venue. First year doing this show. First year for me. First year for the show. I think they had about 590 is the count that I got on trucks, the last that I heard. So lots of people there. However, really hot. Kind of a slow show. A little bit different than what we're expecting. But as I was saying, it kind of changed the dynamics of my entire week. Leaving on Thursday, that really only gave me 2 days to do work before I left town. Had a lot of stuff scheduled here. I talked to you guys about it. I got a little bit of work done on these wicked thumb tanks before I shot video last week. I got started on drawing out some of the stuff for this car that's got to go to Bonneville here soon. And as far as studio work goes, that's really all that got done here in the shop. I had a car that I thought was coming in, and that was my mistake. I was actually supposed to go to them, so I ended up getting a phone call Tuesday morning asking me where I was, and I had messed up on scheduling there. Something that kind of seems to always be the hardest thing for me is scheduling stuff. But ended up working in their shop, ended up being a day and a half working on a pretty amazing car. Let me show you guys some pictures of that real quick. When I showed up in their shop, this thing already had some amazing graphics to it all over the front. However, the rest of the car, they said, looked like a big giant yellow banana. I started breaking all that yellow up first with a broad, or what I call a faded broad stripe down the side that had a small pinstripe with it that brought the color to the back of the car. And then the back of the car, because it's such a huge trunk, we ended up doing a rather large pinstripe design over the back. Really love the way that this car turned out in the end. All of that busyness in the front got carried through the remainder of the car to the back, so it kind of gave it the whole complete package. Turned out to be a really great week, or great day and a half job in a shop with a really cool guy. Enjoyed the time there. After working on that car and before going to the show, I was able to get a couple of things done here in the studio to take with me to the show. As I said, it ended up being kind of a slow show. But being really hot, being 4th of July weekend, there just really wasn't a lot of foot traffic. So I still have a lot of the stuff that I took with me, and it happens. I had the opportunity to make another one of these keychain holders. This is the first one that's got 6 spark plugs on it, so it holds a lot of keys. Might have showed you last time. I had this one finished, took that one with me, was able to wrap up the last 2 of these that I made. Actually made both of these last week as well. The wall-mounted bottle openers, in case you like to drink some IBC root beer, Topo Chico, and stuff like I do. While I was at the show, and I'll show you guys this real quick, I ended up doing 2 custom keychains to match colors on people's cars. I actually need to ship this one out this week, so there's a little part of what's going on this week. I'll be shipping this out today. Even though it was kind of a slow show, I still got to do some really cool things and meet a lot of really cool people. One of the biggest reasons that I love doing car shows is the opportunity to meet and talk to folks. And a lot of my friends and stuff at this point in time are also vendors at car shows and stuff. I guess maybe a little shout out kind of thing. I got to talk to my friend Mike, who's what is it, Square Body Nation. Um, See him, the only time that we ever see each other is at car shows. There's a few other people like that, and it's nice to see them. While I was there, I did get to sell a few shirts. Not a whole lot at this show. Like I said, there just wasn't a lot of foot traffic, but we sold some shirts, sold some art prints. I guess kind of a plug thing. If you guys want shirts, you can go to my website, pick up shirts there. Was able to sell those, mugs, little kind of things that add up. I was able to pinstripe, let's see, one truck, which was pretty cool. It was one of the last things that I striped while we were there. I had one customer that has been trying to get up with me for months, and he just lives too far away. He lives down in Houston, and he can't really bring his truck up here, and it's kind of too far for me to charge travel fee and go down there to him. But he was able to meet me at the show, and I spent a day working on his truck. I did truck door lettering, logo for him and all. I actually designed the logo in the hotel room on the bathroom sink counter. It's kind of funny, but that's where the best lighting was in the room. And I also had somebody who brought a tailgate that's going to be turned into a tailgate bench that's going to get raffled off at another show. Kind of excited about that. That turned out really well. But this gives us an opportunity to talk about some of the realities of working car shows all the time. And that's that sometimes you make a lot of money at them and sometimes you don't make a whole lot of money at them. I had some business at this show. Usually a good show, I can stripe maybe 4 or 5 cars is what comes to me. Mike can get a few more of that done in a day. And that turns into a pretty good day on top of merchandise sales. Like I said, I really only did 2 vehicles at this show for a show that I was gone for 4 days. You've got travel expenses. Probably spent a little over 100 in gas. Just kind of talking about the realities of stuff here. You've got your fee, your vendor fee. This being expected to be a really big show, had a really big vendor fee to it. I won't discuss numbers because it's not really my business on that part. That would be the shows. But between that, place to stay for the weekend, I've got a guy that I pay to work the booth with me so that I can work on cars while he's talking to customers. And feeding him, feeding me and all, I was probably out, I think over $1,000 just in expenses. It's part of the reality of doing it. So in order to make any profit, had to start off with that. Actually, that's without paying the guy that I had. And I spend, if I can, I like to try and pay him what I think is a fair full day's work, which is like $200 a day. Again, he was with me for 4 days. So in the end, it's kind of expensive to go and work a car show. Not all car shows are like that. Some car shows, it really doesn't cost me more than maybe $50 or $60 to be there. So you got to kind of figure it out. But usually the ones that cost more are the ones with way more people, which means I get to meet more people, work on more stuff, hopefully have that opportunity to sell more stuff. Car shows are a tricky thing, and I know some people get discouraged working them because sometimes you do work some car shows where while you're there, you don't make a whole lot of money, or maybe your expenses end up being greater than what your profit was. And it's kind of part of it. Something that I've learned, and I learned this several years ago, before I started working as many car shows as I do now. It took me a little while to learn it because I was probably, when I started working car shows, I don't know, maybe only working 4 or 5 in a year, tops. And I had some where I walked away without making a dime. And it was a little bit discouraging, but something I realized, I handed out a whole bunch of business cards. I met a whole lot of people. I got calls back from those people that I met at those car shows where I didn't sell anything and didn't strike on anything. I got a call back one time from a guy that I had talked to just briefly in a line. I think, man, I might have made $100 at the car show. It was the first year I was doing car shows. I had a call back almost a year later from him and ended up painting a mural in his garage that was pretty big. I think it was at least 9 foot tall and maybe close to 20 foot wide, 15, 16 feet wide at least. Anyhow, added up to being a really good sell. That came from being at that car show where I really didn't make anything. It's kind of part of why I work as many car shows as I do now. I've realized, at least for me in my business model, if I'm at car shows on the weekend, then I end up with work during the week inside of my shop. That's pretty much for me where it comes from. It's almost all word of mouth, and that word of mouth usually comes from people that I've met at car shows. So even if I go to a car show, I don't make a whole lot of money, it's still really worth it for me to be there. All of that kind of leads us back to this week, where I'm at for this week and the work that I have. If you look at the Bonneville car that I told you guys about, that came from me being at a car show. I handed out a card to this guy, oh man, I don't remember if it was a year or 2 years ago, and he got back to me now and said that he wanted me to do this. It's turning out to be a really big job. The Wicked Thumb tanks, if you followed my site for any time, or my my YouTube channel here, you'll know that I've done a lot of these. That all came from the fact that I was at a car show and a guy was riding one of their bikes and wanted to get it striped. I striped that bike, sent a picture to the guys at Wicked Thumb just to tell them how cool I thought their bikes were, and we've had a relationship now for a few years that's turned into me doing a whole bunch of those for them. So like I said, for me, I don't really get discouraged if I don't make a whole lot of sales at a show, because I know in the long run, for me at least, in my business model, it's going to pay off. Talking about this week, just real quick, because like I told you guys, this whole little show here is me trying to, I guess, show you guys what goes on in the studio. I'm going to try and get this Bonneville car wrapped up, Wicked Thumb tanks wrapped up, and then I mentioned in the last video that I was getting ready to get started on this motorcycle art extravaganza piece. That's going to take up the majority of my daily 1 hour drawing this week. I'm going to get going on it, and then after I'm done sketching it out and getting it designed and starting to paint it, then I'll kind of go back to working on my t-shirt design that I was doing for my 1 hour drawing and move this into paint during the rest of the daytime. That's kind of wraps up what's going on for me in the studio this week. I hope you guys are liking these videos. Like I mentioned last time, let me know if you are. I got back quite a few comments of people saying that they did like seeing what was going on in the shop and kind of the more personal, less edited footage here. Again, there should be some videos that pop up both sides of the screen here if you guys want to watch some other videos of mine, and hope to see you guys next week. Please let me know if you like this content, and please let me know if you don't. Y'all have a good week. Bye.